Everyone. It's been a while since I've been able to do an update. I'm sure that none of you are surprised since I just had an infant. You could probably hear him in the background now. I haven't exactly been able to get him to sleep, but he's finally a bit more calm now, and he's in his bassinet, just kind of chilling. Um, and I wanted to let you know that the birth went well. It was very, very difficult though, considering that I did have preeclampsia. So it was a very trying experience. I had to be put on a bunch of different medications. I had to be put on magnesium sulfate as well as Pitocin to induce me. And then I had to have an antibiotic because I had group B strep, unfortunately. And then on top of that, I had the epidural. So I had a lot of different drugs working against me. Thankfully, I was still able to give a natural birth. I didn't have to have a C-section, so that was good. I was pretty surprised I was able to pull it off. Um, I actually was falling asleep in the middle of it, so I had to take a nap. And then when I woke up, I had to have my fiance get me some coffee because I was literally falling asleep because of the magnesium sulfate. Um, so it took a lot of extra effort to push. Um, and I couldn't really feel myself pushing because the epidural was too strong. So thankfully, when my fiance was texting my sister telling her how things were going, she was able to help out by telling them to lower the strength of the epidural so I would be able to feel myself push and thus be able to give birth. So thankfully that ended up working out. I ended up being able to push him out miraculously. He was 5 pounds 13 ounces, so he was really little. He was only 2 weeks early, so he wasn't necessarily considered a preemie, but he was acting like a preemie because he didn't appreciate being kicked out of my womb so early. So it was a little bit difficult. I wasn't able to breastfeed successfully. I'm still kind of trying, but not really having much luck with it. So I've been feeding him formula. I had to switch him to the sensitive because he was getting constipated. Um, so he's been doing a little bit better on that, but he's still a little bit colicky. I think he's just an old soul that doesn't like being a baby again. But he's doing just fine. If anybody wants to see him, this is a little guy right here. Say hi, Kallan. As you can see, he's calm, but he's a little bit bored. And there's not much he can do at this age except, kind of chill out in his bassinet. And he can't lift his head up yet. He's still too young, so he can't do tummy time or anything special like that. But he has a little seat that he has a little seat that vibrates, so if he's being fussy, that tends to calm him down. I can't leave him in it too long though, so unfortunately once he gets used to that I end up having to move him back into his bed. He doesn't like that too much, but I'll sit with him in my lap and rock him back and forth, and that helps him calm down a little bit. He's starting to get into a routine, but he's very stubborn. He's like his mom. um but yeah, mom life has been definitely, an adjustment. As you can see, I don't really look too impressive right now. I'm not wearing any makeup and I'm breaking out like a teenager. So that's always fun. um there were two Mandela effects that I've noticed since I've given birth. One of them was one that my mom actually brought up. She doesn't really know about the Mandela effect that much. I brought up a couple things to her, but she doesn't really notice them as Mandela effects. Kind of like the way that my fiance is. He just thinks of it as kind of like remembering things wrong and stuff like that. Um, but when she was a nurse back in the day, and she used to work in labor and delivery, they used to refer to C-sections as C births which was kind of funny because when she brought that up and the other nurses were there, they were like, "Seabirths? What's that? Like you give birth in the ocean?" Like, but she went seabirths like C as in the letter C, not C as in like the ocean, obviously. Um, but she's like, well, that's what they used to call it back in the day, and even some of the older nurses were kind of like, why? No, we never refer to them as seabirths. What are you talking about? So if there are any nurses out there watching this that practiced between the late 70s and late 90s, around the time that my mom was practicing, you know, let me know, because I'm curious as to whether or not you guys recognize that term or not, or if it was just something that she remembers. Um, but yeah, it kind of sparked my curiosity. Another thing that I noticed was, and this is also something that my mom mentioned years ago, and I never really thought anything of it. But since my son's been born, I bought him some of the old school Sesame Street DVDs, and I kind of also wanted to watch it out of my own personal nostalgia, because I always loved Sesame Street, and I'm sure that my son will love it too. Um, but how many of you remember Big Bird not having a white streak right here on the top of his head? I know that when Big Bird first came out, like in the really, really early episodes, his head was a little bit smaller and he didn't have the white spot on there. But then later on, his head was a little bit bigger and he had the white spot right there. But my mom remembers his head being, a bit bigger, but not having any white spot on his head. And I remember that too. And I remember when she first brought it up, it was later on, um, probably, I want to say, around the mid late 90s, she said, "Oh, he's got a white spot now. I wonder if that means he's getting older, like like he was getting grays or something like that." But I noticed, like, what watching some of the old school DVDs, that he started having that white spot as soon as his head got bigger. So yeah, I wasn't sure if any of you noticed that too. Any of you big Sesame Street fans out there? Because I noticed that too, and I'm like, I remember when I was watching it when I was little, that he didn't have that white spot until around the mid late 90s. So, but yeah, I wanted to make this video a bit shorter because it's going to be time for him to eat pretty soon. But I thought I would give you guys all an update and let you know that things went fine. It was a difficult experience, you know, but we made it through okay. So, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.